Kosher, what a do, Kosher crew.
What is going on, gamer?
I
How's
am
everything?
so glad to have you, everyone. Welcome to the show. Sorry for the hectic start.
No
Yes, I'm so
worries.
excited. I've got the goat himself. You know, when I started in NFTs about 18 months ago, you and Brett were my go-to guys. You
Hell
were
yeah,
the
yeah.
guys I used to watch on YouTube, every word you said. So to be sitting here with you is amazing, man. It's really nice. I'm so glad we could make it happen, man.
Hell yeah, yeah. I know. Well, like in the beginning, like during the peak bull run, Brett's like, "Yo, you got to start making videos." I'm like, bro, who's gonna listen to me? Like, I don't even know what I'm saying half the time. But yeah, I mean, it worked out for the better. I didn't think anyone would listen. I didn't think anyone would really care either. But here we are. It's awesome that people were able to sort of learn from what I was doing. And some people got wrecked. Some people made a lot of money. So there's people who are in between as well. But luckily, there's a lot of people who made a good amount of money, and Web3 is just changing people's lives. It's great to see.
For sure, for sure. So I think like let's give the viewers context. All right. So Kosha and I, I've known Kosha a long time. He hasn't known me for very long, in the same circles. And I reached out quite a while ago, just said hello, and he reached out recently, and we said let's get to know each other. And what better way to do it than together to do it live in front of the viewers. So yeah, I'm not leading this. We'll do it together, but basically just like a phone call to say, "How's it? Thanks for agreeing to be here." Um, so tell me, Coach, let's just get to know each other. Tell me a little bit about you. How old are you? Where do you live? Like all of that sort of stuff.
Uh, I am 21. I just turned 21 this August, and I live in New York City. A lot of people like to comment on my accent sometimes. I don't really notice it, but some people do. Uh, so yeah, I mean, I don't know if you like want like a background of like who I am. I have like a couple of those type of videos. I think Brett recorded one like a super long time ago of like my backstory. If that's just something that you kind of want, or up to you. It's your show.
Yeah, all of it, all of it. Tell me, how do we get kosher into the world 21 years ago, and from there, let's go.
All right. Yeah, I was born 2001. I think 1 month before 9/11. So like, not really born into like the the best society at the time. It was a bit hectic growing up as well. I never really was too fortunate growing up. Obviously I had a loving mom, which is great. And if you have at least someone, that's perfect. And there's people who had it way worse than me for sure. But I never grew up like with a lot of money compared to a lot of people, that is. But like, obviously, I don't like to say that my situation was so horrible, because there's people who are way worse off in life than I was. So since I always grew up like in that state of just like always wanting to grind for stuff and always never having enough money, my power bill went out a couple times. Like just growing up, we almost got like the house floor closed on us because we just weren't able to pay bills. So from there, I was always just doing random things. Growing up, I used to just sell like cherry tomatoes like outside the front of my house. Then I used to get iPhone cases off Amazon, try to sell them in garage sales they would do on my block. And they would like these phone cases were like from China. So like they took about like a couple weeks to a month to even get in. And I used to order like a couple of them each time, made like $10-15, like just doing it with a couple phones and just buying a couple more each time. And this was like back when like the iPhone, I think 4 just came out. So it's like a lot of people were getting the new phone. So I was like, oh, let me try to sell some of these iPhone cases. And that did pretty well. I was probably maybe like not six, I was probably like 8 or 9 at that time. Like I was still a bit young, but I was still always doing grinding and just random stuff here and there. Growing up, always just doing these odd jobs. Like I used to flip iPhones. I used to like buy them, fix them up, sell them. Then I used to do customizing Xbox controllers. So I would take people's controllers, I would like sand them down, paint them, and then give it to them. So just a bunch of like random things. Like I was never just like stuck just sitting down, just like doing one thing. And I was never good in school. I was always just like someone who just wanted to get as much money as I possibly could. Because in school, they almost teach you in school, like, and I learned this like when growing up, is they teach you essentially how to be a worker. They don't teach you how to be a business owner, because if there's more business owners than workers, then society wouldn't be able to function. It's just as simple as that. And is once I learned that, I'm like, it's kind of stupid just to work for someone else when I could just work for myself and just make a good amount of money so I don't have to do that. Because when you're working for someone, you're just working and taking the time that it would take in to build your dream, but you're getting compensation for doing it for theirs. So that's something that I really wanted to not be stuck in that sort of rat race, in a sense. That's what everyone sort of calls it nowadays. But yeah, I mean, growing up, like, yeah, obviously I had it way better than most people in these other countries that, are literally living, doing these 15-hour jobs, just barely even able to pay rent. But, I was always just doing stuff. I just always wanted to get out of my position that I was sort of in. And I guess that's a little bit about me. I don't know if you have any other
So
questions.
I wanted to ask, yeah, I wanted to ask a couple of things. Brothers and sisters?
Yes, I'm the youngest of five, so I have three sisters and one brother.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow.
Yeah.
And you said your mom, your dad, was he still around when you were growing up or no?
No, I mean, when I was like maybe like 4 or 5, he was, but growing up, I never really had that. So I was always just teaching myself pretty much everything.
I also come from a big family. I've got five sisters. Live in South Africa, one of those countries you were probably thinking of. But I've got a good here, which is good. I was actually born in Australia, and when I was about 8 years old, my parents immigrated back to South Africa because they were originally from South Africa. They went to Australia, were there for about 10 years, and then came back here. So I know what it's like to have a big family. Where does the name Kosher Plug come from?
Everyone thinks it's a Jewish thing. It's really not a Jewish thing. I mean, my family is Jewish, but like I'm not really like super religious like that. Like, yes, I'll celebrate like the holidays and stuff. Like I'll be with family and just stuff like that. And I'm not like anti-Jewish or whatever. But it's just the name that he came up with, because basically kosher just means authentic, legit. Like, so legit, and then plug is a connect. So legit connect. And I was just at the original time that I came up with this name, I was actually reselling sneakers. So when I was reselling sneakers, it's really important that the sneakers are authentic, legit, like everything's good with them. So that's where the name kosher kind of came in. Even though at the same time I am Jewish, it's just ironic that my name is, but that I am Jewish, that the name Kosher Plug came about. But that's how the name came about. I was selling shoes, want to make sure everyone know that I'm all about it. I'm legit. Everything's good. I resold sneakers for probably like a year and a half, and I made a little bit of money doing that. So that was great. And I just stuck with the name because I didn't even expect to do anything in Web3. I was just when I first got into Web3, I was flipping Top Shot packs. So I was just on Top Shot buying these packs, running like 5 or 6 accounts at the time. And in the beginning, Top Shot, you were making like $2,000 to $3,000 per pack that you got into. So I was running all these accounts. I hit on one really, really early, got a couple grand from that. And then I pretty much just threw that into crypto and stuff like that, like ETH and all these other coins, when ETH was probably about like 750, $800. So that was also, nice W here and there. But I was working at Amazon at that time, and I was just doing a bunch of things here and there to try to stack up as much money as possible, because especially when investing, once you have a little bit of like a wiggle room, you have way less on your mind when you're investing into things, as opposed to if you're investing all the money that you have currently.
Sure.
I don't advise, even though I'm not a financial advisor, I don't advise anyone to throw in money they can't afford to lose. Like if you have to pay rent or if you have to do something with that money, I do not suggest to risk it. Don't use credit to gamble with different plays that you could possibly be making. And yes, you can make a lot of money, but at the same time, you could lose a lot of money. So that's also something that a lot of people need to understand is don't go over what you could afford to lose, and always take profits. I always say this to everyone. And even during the peak bull run, when I was like, ETH was like 4,000, whatever, I literally tweeted like the second that it broke the all-time high, I'm like, you need to take profits. Like this is not going to last forever. There's going to be a time where the market goes bearish. Make sure you take at least some profit. And luckily I cashed
Yeah.
out like 20% at that time. So that was pretty good. But I know a lot of people are still bag holding from that, which kind of sucks for them.
For sure. I think a couple of things, like the one thing is that I'm a big proponent of what you're saying. So I've made a video that barely anyone's seen, but I've tried to get people to see it. My only non NFT video, and it's called the In Real Life Secrets to Wealth Creation. And that's my biggest thing, is that crypto is really risky, and only play with money that you can afford to lose. And not only that, only play with a small percentage of the money that you can afford to lose, you know. But yeah, I'd love for you to see it and just privately let me know. But I'm a big proponent of that. But the thing that's interesting to me is one of the things. I mean, there's a lot. Is like you seem to have had this collector type of personality, which I clearly do and have as well from the beginning. So I mean, even the fact that you were talking about like sneakers, I know you were selling them, but would you say that's true? Would you say like in real life you were a collector of things as well?
I like things that are a bit more limited. Like I have a couple of watches as well, and I only have them because they're limited. There's not as many people who have them, so that's why I like it. I like limitation factor, and that's also why I was huge into NFTs because like it's such a human mindset to have at the same time. Like when you're looking at when I was like back in the day, like when I bought my first NFT, which was I guess technically Top Shot's my first NFT, but first Ethereum NFT that was on an actual blockchain was a Dogepound NFT. And when I saw those, I'm like, bro, the art is so cool and it's so unique. I've never seen anything like this. And I thought it was like at the time, I thought the art was so cool. I was hype. And then I sent it to my friend. My friend's like, what the hell is that? Like, that's how FOMO gets to you because you see that
Yeah,
it's such a limited collection set. Everyone's wanting to buy these. Are like $5,000. Then all of a sudden in your mind, you're like, oh my God, like this is some of the coolest art I've ever seen. But then if the floor goes down, like for $100, you're like, oh, why would anyone spend money on this? So it's such a different, it's such a change in mindset. And you see that all the time in NFTs. Like even with the art gobblers that came out today, like people were clowning on it at 10 ETH and they're like, oh, this is the worst art I've ever seen. Like this, and then literally today it went to 20 ETH. So it's like at the same time, it's not even necessarily about the art, but it's just such a human mindset at the same time. And people will start to adapt 100% if the prices are high and it's a limited item because the price will sort of reflect it. There's a lot of watches that are super ugly, in my opinion, that are worth like hundreds of thousands of dollars just because they're so limited and there's such a high collectors. There's so many collectors for that item. So I mean, it's literally just a human mindset, in my opinion. And I'm just like that as well. I like things that are limited.
yeah. So I think we definitely in the NFT space, we're definitely in the echo chamber for sure. So you know, if everyone that you're speaking to on Twitter and Discord is wanting a specific NFT, it feels like the entire world wants this NFT. But most of the world doesn't even know what an NFT is, let alone what a art gobbler or Doge pound is. But speaking of art gobblers, I mean that's a really interesting one because I think the reason that they're pumping, even though in my opinion, the art is very, very average. I think the reason that they're pumping is the tokenomics behind it currently. I mean, obviously, you know, I know, and I'm sure you know that it's very difficult to make these sort of returns sustainable long term. And I mean, you could rattle off projects, I could rattle off projects. So I don't think it's going to last forever. But I mean, as it stands now, you can stake and earn and like it used to be in cyberkongs. I don't know if you remember the cyberkong OGs where you make thousands a day. I mean, or even those fighters, the fighter one, where you
Raid
could also
party.
stake them. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, guys were making a bag there as well. So I
Yeah.
mean, I think it's this, I think that's got a big thing. Did you get whitelist for it?
For art gobblers, I did. And I know everyone on the timeline's going crazy about it. But the thing is, I've been like literally on my YouTube, I talked about it like months and months and months ago. I was not months and months. It was probably about a little over a month ago at this point. And obviously, I had no affiliation. I didn't even have whitelist at the time when I recorded the video. I just thought it was cool. I was talking to the team. I'm like, Justin Roiland's involved. Like Paradigm is backing it. It's a VC company, has tokenomics. Essentially, when there's tokenomics and there's a VC company, it's basically an essential. It's essentially a way of just saying, yeah, we're gonna make a token, and that token's gonna be hella fucking expensive at first, so the VC company could get out with a nice price. So essentially, I was like, oh, VC token, good. So when I saw that and Justin Roiland was involved, obviously there's some allegations and stuff like that out right now. So it's not like I'm supporting anything. I'm taking a step back because there's just so much toxicity on the timeline right now. I'm gonna let things cool off, see what happens. But you know, I do have one. I'm probably gonna sell it at some point because 20 ETH, that's a lot of money. Like that's insane.
Well, you said take profits, my brother. I would sell it immediately. I didn't get whitelist. I don't think you have to apologize whatsoever. You full time in the space. You've got your finger on the pulse. And if other guys want to be full time in the space and make a name for themselves, they can do it. But I think that that it's perfect that you got it, and don't apologize, but sell it, sell it and run, sell it and
Yeah.
run.
And the thing is, like, I was one of like the not the I think the project's been off since like June or something. But like I've been like I even told my Discord, I told my YouTube like over a month ago, like legit, like I think this is gonna be pretty dope. Potentially get in. And there's a couple people who did get in and now they're sitting like $20,000 profits. Like that's
It's
awesome to
incredible.
see. And there's some people who
I
are literally just like they before this even happened, they had so many bills stacked up. They're like, oh, let me just try to get this whitelist for this NFT. Maybe I'll get lucky. And now they're able to pay all their bills and now they're able to sort of just sustain themselves for a very long time. And that's literally life-changing money for so many people. And that's awesome to see for sure.
It's incredible, and I think a couple of things. Like first of all, it was also on my radar, but I obviously I don't think anyone realized it was going to get to this level. I mean, maybe in this market, 1 ETH, 2 ETH is huge for a free mint, but also I did a video on it on the. I published it on the 16th of September. So what's that? About 7 weeks ago. So I knew like same as KPR. I also did a video on them, the one they minted today, a point 0.2 mint. They pretty much sold out. It's a 7,000 collection, and they're sitting at 0.6 or somewhere around there. And that's what I sort of thought Art Gobblers would be. I mean, I didn't foresee it being this, but I think it's so great for guys who really need it. To As far as like the stories you were saying, to get it, and for the guys who don't really, I think it's good for the market because typically, if you degen like I am and like I know you are, if I made a 20 ETH bag because I don't need it, I'd be buying a mutant, I'd be buying a dog, I'd be buying a whole lot of stuff. Maybe a doodle again if they just decide to tweet or whatever, but I'd be getting stuff. So hopefully it will trickle down into the market, which would be really, really cool.
Yeah, and the thing is with them, they were also a free mint. So a lot of these people who did get this and all this crazy money are also very likely to put it into other projects as well, instead of just immediately cashing out. Like if you were to mint this project for, say, for example, 10 ETH or whatever this price is that at the current moment of the floor, or 1, 2, 3 ETH, that money would have all just went to them and what they're building
Yeah.
instead of back into the market. There's people now with $20,000 and they're like, oh shit, let me just buy another couple NFTs, just see if I get lucky on
Exactly.
those. So the money will definitely trickle back down, especially since it's a free mint. The only real money that they're making is on the royalties, as well as that I think they have a couple of these in their vault. And
Yeah.
obviously, I think they have a bunch of these tokens as well, but all VCs sort of do that. And also, I am a trader first. So, like, I just don't understand the mindset of a lot of people, especially right now, like getting mad at people for, taking profits and selling their NFT that basically was a gift. So I'm always a trader first. I always tell everyone, like, look, like everything that I'm buying is essentially geared towards selling it at some point, because I don't really believe in most of this space super long term. Like even with Bored Ape Yacht Club, like I did not see this sustaining like $250,000. Like that's literally pandemonium. Like that's insane. $250,000 for an NFT with a 10K supply, like that was insane at the time. And I mean, yeah, for sure, it could be way higher in the future. But that was just my mindset, and that's why I never got into any of these projects like Bored Ape Yacht Club and stuff, because I just felt like they were so overpriced at the time. Now might be a good time to maybe look into getting one, because I think they're like 60 ETH or something, which is like super cheap compared to the all-time
Yeah.
high.
Yeah, so they're 60 at the moment, but they're about just under 100K. Whereas about, I would say, 2 months ago when they were sitting at 80 ETH and ETH was 1,000 for a while, they were 80K. So it's not the absolute lowest. I think there is a little bit of execution risk there. So I got in at around there. I got in near the bottom. I got a Bored Ape at about 80K. And I ended up getting an offer for double just randomly after a few weeks, like literally double. And I sold. I sold,
Yes.
and I was very happy to sell. I must be honest, I'm not tempted to put so much, even if it was 80K, which I know is a huge amount of money. I'm just saying compared to 100K at the moment, I'm not so keen with everything that's going on there. So, I mean, I just think first for the market, second of all, the way that they've slowed down everything, like the pace of excitement has really, really slowed down. The SEC investigation, I know it's going to be ongoing, and I know they've been careful for a long time, but I would rather have 2 or 3 mutants that I can get out of really quickly if I need to, a lower risk base than a Bored Ape. I'd rather have a CryptoPunk at this point because there's a lot less risk there, and no one's expecting anything. You could disappoint by mistake, and all of a sudden that can go half.
Yeah,
Like
100%.
crypto
And
punks not expecting anything, you know.
yeah, I mean, it's also owned by Larva as well. So the thing is, not Larva, it's what's it, Yuga now, because I
You
think
go.
Larva sold.
Yeah.
So I mean, even in that case, maybe the SEC might look into that as well. The thing is, the SEC is mainly looking to make examples out of people. So that's why they're looking into a lot of these companies, because if one of these companies have a major issue, then it's going to set a standard and a precedent for all these other companies as well. And the worst part about it, in my opinion, is the SEC looks into people and targets them directly. Like you could see with the Kim Kardashian um, Instagram post, like you could tell that that's what the SEC is going for. They're going to target specific people who have who have a high viewership, so they can get as much attention as possible on this issues or situations that are involved. So going after a company like Yuga as well with Bored Ape Yacht Club is basically just a way for them to just voice like what they believe is right and wrong, because the SEC doesn't really release rules. They don't really release regulations. They kind of just make examples out of people. And that's why people are so scared of the SEC and so scared of the government, because they just try to make examples out of people. And it's kind of unfortunate that we sort of have it like this. And there's a lot of people who are still scared to invest in crypto and NFTs because they're so scared that it might get regulated to absolute oblivion in the future, which it could, and it might at some point, but you never know. But it's just I take everything with a grain of salt for sure. It, it,
Yeah, I
it's
think I
a
think the SEC, like I actually give credit to them for going after the biggest, because it would be so easy for them to go after, and I'm not going to mention project names, but smaller projects who don't have the budget to be able to fight it properly or get proper legal advice. And who also, I mean, Yuga's been really, from my understanding, has been really cautious legally, knowing this was coming from how they've done everything. So in a way, going for the biggest is almost like respectful in a way, because if anyone has like the means to be able to defend the NFT space as not being a security, it is Broad Ape Yacht Club. And if anyone hasn't done anything wrong, it's them, because they have had VC backing for a while and they've been keeping to the book. Even when they did the other side launch, you had to KYC. So they had a crystal ball there, knowing that this was going to happen, right? So I actually think it's quite good that it's gone this way, opposed to them attacking, like, kicking someone who's down at the moment and doesn't have the money to fight it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, that's also a really good perspective to have as well. When like even with the SEC, I know that they also, like, it's not just that they only target like Board Ape Yacht Club and stuff. They also target a bunch of other companies. I know there's a bunch of gambling ones as well, but anything with
Yeah,
gambling, I don't touch. I think it's just too risky, especially in the current market, in the way that the
I
government always
got
wants their hand in
burnt.
the pot. Yeah,
I
it's
got
it's
burnt on one of those, the ones where the slot machine looked like a person. I'm talking a
slotties.
year ago.
Yeah,
Yeah, and junior slutties, and I had mine staked, and I never got anything for it, and I got burnt. It just got delisted from OpenSea, and then
yeah.
I did manage to sell it on Looks Rare, but like at a massive, massive loss.
Yeah, it's a security risk at the end of the day. A lot of these projects, the government only likes gambling if they could profit off of it, essentially. So whenever there's these entities that are making their own projects, I do not like to touch them. I invested in a couple in the beginning of the bull market. I think they were called, like, not gambling apes. They were like something else. I forget what they're called. But I bought a couple of those. I sold them. I think I made a little bit of a profit, but I never was like, holding them, hoping that they would go up, because I essentially knew that anything with gambling is just pretty much just a time game of how long it's going to take
Yeah.
before they get removed. So I don't mess with any of that. It just doesn't make sense, in my opinion, to do so.
Is there any NFT that you love, that you hold, that you have no? I could offer you 1,000, maybe not 1,000x, but like a 20x now, and you wouldn't sell it.
I mean, I don't think so. Like, it's kind of like, it just doesn't make sense, because especially if there's one that I like, why, if I could get 20x for it, why not just buy another one off the floor in that case?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to me. I mean, it's
And
just
are
not
you?
my cup of tea.
Yeah, I get it, and I think that's the right mindset to have, because when you sort of fall in love with it, that's when problems come. Are you
100%.
still flipping now? Obviously, not like you used to, but are you still finding flips now? So forget art gobblers, like that's been one in the last 6 months. I haven't seen that. Other than that, are you actively buying and selling?
Here and there, I'm more so focused on building stuff with WGMI because we have so much going on there, and there's so many moving parts when running a media company. So we have a lot going on there for sure. We also got Plug Pass, so I just run whitelist stuff like that, connect to projects, and also I don't really do direct alpha anymore because I'm just so worried about there being any potential risk, either from the government or someone calling me out saying he's a pump and dumper or this or that. So I don't even make any of my own personal calls. I have callers to do that for me because I'm just too worried about any potential legal action. So anything that I do talk about or anything that I do buy, I tell people in my general chat, I'm like, yeah, I'm looking into buying this. I don't know if I'm going to buy. Like, I make things very clear for people because I don't want any potential issues. I try to do everything by book. But yeah, I've been making a couple trades here and there. I made a trade earlier this morning. I think I'm up like 600, $700 or something. It was like one of these art blocks, NFTs. I don't even know what it was called. I could probably pull it up, but I bought it at 0.6 and 0.64, and I sold it. I could pull it up in a sec. I sold for 1.15 ETH, and after the 10% creator royalties and OpenSea fees, 1 ETH minus 0.67,
About
whatever that is.
80%. Yeah,
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah, it was pretty nice. So nice
What
little.
did you see? What did you see in it that made you know that it was going to pump?
Well, essentially, like I actually wrote a thread on this the other day when I was talking about art gobblers because it was going so under the radar. Like no one really cares too much about art gobblers, not art gobblers, art blocks at the moment. And what I've noticed is the past couple of releases have almost 2 to 10x. So, and no one's talking about it at all because it's a Dutch auction going from 4 ETH. So people just immediately see Dutch auction, they just run away. But the Dutch auction essentially is just a way for people to determine what the real price is. So when it goes from 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.5, 0.25 ETH, everyone will decide on what they really want to pay for it. Once you start seeing some transactions, obviously you could decide to mint or not. But I typically, well, since I've been seeing the recent movement in a lot of these art blocks projects, I decided I think it's going to be a good choice to hop in because the majority of these art blocks projects that do mint on Dutch auction, as long as there's no insane amount of overhype on it, just tend to either hold their price very well or either 2 to 3, 4x or 5x or 10x, whatever, over time. So that's something that you could definitely look into for sure. I actually just recorded a video just talking about that a little earlier this morning. I'm just waiting on my editor to get that back to me. But I mean, there's definitely money to be made even in a bear or a bull market. Obviously, art gobblers, art blocks.
And also, those are nice because they're smaller collection sizes also. So that also works. It works nicely,
100%. And I know for a fact that that the Fidenzas, these were sitting at 75 ETH like literally yesterday, 2-3 days ago maybe. And now they're sitting at about 98 ETH. So if you were able to sort of hop on something like that, that's pretty massive for a lot of people. Like just 20 ETH, like that's huge. But I know a lot of people don't have the budget for that. But there's definitely a lot of just like flips here and there, especially in a bearish market. Just there's always opportunity.
Yeah, and I guess it's exactly what you said. It's like knowing what's a good project, but that's not got the limelight and not being talked about at the moment. And then that's the best time to jump into it, and then waiting for it to have something that really puts it in the limelight again, and then selling it. In a lot of ways, that those collections, like whether it be Doodles or Bored Apes or Clone X, those are easier. The higher value ones are easier because you've got less risk, and it just takes one small pump for it to go up. Usually the floors are pretty thin because there's not many people sitting, with that amount of ETH. I know, like if you look at the Bored Ape floor, there's usually 10 between where it is at that point and 10 ETH more than that. Okay, maybe 20 or whatever it may be, but it literally just takes a news event, or not even a big news event, just a bit of nice excitement, and you can get 10 ETH out of it.
100%. Yeah. I mean, there's, like I said, and I always bring up this quote from Sun Tzu. He says, in the midst of chaos, there lies opportunity. So whenever the markets are bad or whenever something's going on, even with the art gobblers yesterday, like people were all flooding into absolute oblivion. There's issues going on, but they missed out the opportunity that it went from 10 ETH to 20 ETH. So while they were just complaining and being mad about the situation that was going on, there was opportunity in that. and now the floor doubled from that. So you could have made
Yeah.
$10,000 essentially, or $20,000, whatever 10 ETH is.
See, the difficulty is timing it because it could have just as easily carried on with the FUD and gone from 10 to 5 and be sitting at 5 now. So knowing, and I guess that's where experience comes in, but obviously also like, looking at the cell walls to get to the different stages and looking at, activity listings versus sales and all the normal stuff that we do can help you with it to be a bit earlier. But there are times where I thought I'm buying at the bottom where I bought the absolute top, and vice versa also.
Yeah, anytime I buy anything, I do not like to buy. I don't like to buy into pumps. I get wrecked all the time when I buy into pumps. A lot of people, especially during a bull market, they're like, "Oh, let me buy into ETH now, and it's just going to keep going up. It's going to keep going up." And I remember the mindset when ETH was at $4,500. Everyone was like, "Wag me!" Like everyone was like, so excited that ETH is going to go to the moon. ETH is going to go to the moon. But now, when people see the market at $1,000 ETH, the mindset is very different because now
Yeah.
no one wants to buy. They're like, oh, it's going to go even lower. It's going to go even lower. Like, don't even worry. Like, just don't buy. It's like the mindset is very different when the market is bullish versus when the market is bearish. Obviously, like there's people who were buying in at 4,500 saying that this is just the start. And those are the same people who are now holding at that price point still and saying at $1,000 ETH, that this is not the bottom. We're going to keep going lower. So it's definitely a mind game at the end of the day. And you need to just remove emotions from trading. When you don't have emotions in trading, this is the same thing with NFTs. If you're attached to an NFT too much, it's just going to limit yourself in the future with trading because then you're going to be stuck bag holding things. So try not to be attached emotionally to anything. I know communities can be great, and I still have a couple of my Sappy Seals for that exact reason. I bought them, I think, at like 0.05, like a 3 Sappy Seals, and I'm still holding them because I just like the community. I like the vibes to them. But at the same time, if someone offered me 20x over the floor price, obviously I'm going to sell, and I'll just probably buy one off the floor. It just doesn't make sense to, not do that, in my opinion. Because if you remove emotions, then what's the point of holding this exact one? Even if it is your personal identity. I mean, in that
You
case,
can
I kind of
change it.
understand it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could kind of
No,
understand that way.
I actually, that's why my face is my Twitter in the show, because it used to be my mutant, then I sold my mutant, then it used to be my board ape, then I sold my board ape, and I just thought I'm not changing my bloody logo and I'm just putting my face. I'm not going to sell my face. I'm going to keep it at that. But I think what you said is golden, is removing emotion, and then what you said before that about not being overexposed is a good way to start removing emotion. Like you don't need the money. It's not, and only play with real money that you can afford to proper write off. It doesn't change your life whatsoever. And then you do not have that emotional investment like, oh my God, there's my rent money for this month.
Yeah, it's definitely like, especially in the beginning when I was investing, I was buying a bunch of these pudgy penguins at that time. And I remember I was working at Amazon. I was on Twitter. I was just keep seeing everyone talking about pudgy penguins. And I was like, okay, I'm going to buy one for myself. And I texted my mom. I'm like, yeah, I'll buy one for you too. Because I made like a couple of these NFT flips. And I was like, okay, I'm going to get my mom one because she keeps like, I keep talking to her because I don't really have any people like in real life that I talk to about this type of stuff, because it almost just comes off as me bragging when I'm like, yeah, I just flipped this NFT for $10,000. And, I got into this, and it almost seems like weird to them because they're literally like, even though I was working at Amazon too, I didn't want to like almost sound like I'm bragging to them. So I just didn't really bring it up as much to them. But my mom, I could tell my mom. So I was telling my mom, I told her, I'm like, I'll get you one of these NFTs, but I was stuck at work. But when this was when pudgy penguins were at $200, and I was right before work, I bought one for $200, and then I was at work. I texted my mom. I'm like, yeah, I'll buy you one too. And then by the time I got home, they were already like pumping. I think they were like $1,000, and it was way out of my price range. Like I didn't even have like that much money just like sitting in like my Ethereum. Maybe I had like a savings account, but like I'm not gonna just withdraw $1,000 to buy a picture of a penguin online. And this was before like the pudgy penguin like pumped to, I think, like $30,000. So I went from like a $700 NFT to like $30,000 now, just like chilling. I was like, holy shit. Cause it was like a couple of days and it was just like worth all this money. And I'm like I couldn't even believe it. Cause I never even seen that much money like in my life. It was insane. I remember the absolute euphoria at that time. And it was definitely a crazy time. And it's the same experience then as is now, like with all these people who flipped these ARC albers who got in really early. these people are having the same exact experience that I'm having now, like just like absolute like shock and disbelief, because like it's such an like it's such a game changer, especially if you just don't have that like just if you're just, because at the time like I was just like always running low on money. I was in college, I was working at Amazon, and my car like broke down. Like we had to get all the tires. Well, I had to get all the tires fixed, and then the muffler fell off, so I had to get that fixed. And the thing is, like I was just always like running into like things going wrong, just spending money left and right just on things that just come up in life, and paying off college. Like I didn't want to take out any loans with college. I was paying everything off like from my own pocket. That's why I was working, trading, and just like investing into different things. So I was able to pay it off. But at the same time, when I saw this like insane amount of money, I was like, okay, like this is definitely a sign that I should take a little bit of time off of college, take a little bit of time off of work, because now that I have this blanket, $30,000 is like a yearly paycheck in America, like in not in New York City, obviously, but $30,000 is a good chunk of money that I could always fall back on. And just worst case, I get another job like within like a year. So I was like, okay, I'll just spend as much time as I can just learning about the market, learning as much as I can, and just essentially being a sponge, just learning from every single person, every single source as possible. And it went really great, and obviously I'm very lucky to have been in the market during the peak bull run. I think I made like 300,000-400,000 like during the time during the bull market, which is awesome. And obviously I started Plug Pass too, which brought in a good amount of money for me, but obviously had to pay people as well, so it's not like just straight money for me. But it was awesome. It was a great time, and I'm very happy with the position I'm in today.
For sure. And look, you were there and you put the work in, and yes, there's luck involved also, but you risked your real money and your real time and took a leap of faith. And well done. I mean, it's incredible. I'm still trying to understand, like that first Top Shot purchase that those packs. Who introduced you to that? How did you even hear about NFTs at all? Any form of them?
Essentially, I was at the original time when Top Shot came out. I was currently trading sneakers. Like, so even before like selling NFTs or anything, like I was still trading sneakers, working at Amazon and in college. Cause like that was how I was able to pay off like all my bills that I had, was just flipping these sneakers. I would buy stuff on Supreme. I would bought shoes and just a bunch of different things like that. So I was just making money that way. And then from there, I was able to I was in a Discord group as well. At that time, it was like at that time, alpha groups were essentially called sneaker cook groups. So like in that niche, it's called a sneaker cook group instead of just like an alpha group. So in sneakers, I was doing that, and I was just in these groups, just networking, talking to people. And I think that's so important. And anyone who is listening, I 100% think that you should focus on that first before you do anything else. Get your network right, and you'll be setting yourself up for a lot of success. So I set myself up. I was just talking to as many people in different sectors as possible. So crypto, stocks, and just learning as much as I possibly could, because the more information you have, the more powerful you are as a person. So I was talking to people. I think Shamdu is in, like, I don't know if you know who Shamdu is, but we had him in the Discord server like way back in the day, and he was telling us about Top Shot. He was almost a caller like way back in the day in our Discord group, and we paid him. We paid him like monthly, and it was awesome. And he was just giving us like alpha that was going on in Top Shot. Obviously, he didn't stay long in that position of a caller.
And it was a sneaker group, nothing to do with NFTs.
Yeah, it was a sneaker group, and essentially
That's incredible. That's so cool.
Yeah, so we like in that time, like a lot of these groups as well, like in sneakers, like this was when the sneaker market was like sort of starting to slow down. So everyone was moving to different sectors, like stocks, crypto, NFTs, and NFTs was like the one that really stuck with me, because crypto, yeah, I made a little bit of money here and there, but it definitely wasn't the amount of gains that I made on NFTs so quickly. And with crypto, you kind of need to understand a little bit more. With NFTs.
Yeah.
The art is nice, and you could make an insane amount of money. Like it was as simple as that in the beginning, but now it's a bit different because you need utility and different things. But during the peak bull run, literally just anything with nice art was just absolutely mooning, like going legit throw a dart at the board, you're making like tens of thousands. So it was really different during the peak bull run. And yeah, I was lucky I was a part of it at that time.
For sure. But I mean, that's such a cool story. It's trading sneakers, and literally in a sneaker Discord, there's a guy calling and telling you about crypto and NFTs. Incredible. And then, okay, so then I'm getting a timeline. So then you got your Top Shots, you made a bit of money there, a couple of grand. Then you got your Pudgy Penguin, you made a fortune of money there. when did it turn from just trading to actually making YouTube videos? And then from there, we'll move on to Plug Pass and WGMI, but just to understand the proper progression.
At that point, when I was making like these crazy trades, I was still in this sneaker group as well. Like I didn't even have any friends or any network in NFTs. Then I saw one of Brett's videos, and I was just watching the videos, like, and then he's like, "Oh, you
Everyone
could join my."
saw Brett.
And then
Brett
he's
onboarded like the entire NFT community.
yeah. And I saw his video, and in the description he said his Discord, and I was really active in like Pudgy Penguin's Discord. I was really active in Dogepound Discord because, like I said, I always wanted to network people. I was always joking around, memeing, just having fun because I think that's so important. And at the same time, I joined his group, and I saw that there were so many people like in the same mindset, and I was like, oh my god, like this is massive. So I was just in this group and just letting everyone like I was putting everyone on to what I was doing. And at that time, like I was making like crazy trades and crazy flips. And this was before like I even had like any following whatsoever, maybe like 200 followers on Twitter or whatever. So I was just making these trades, just doing stuff like that. And just stuff like that. And at some point, I was just making these calls that were just hitting so much that Brett actually used some of these for his videos. And he's like, yeah, Kosher Plug, one of the people in my Discord was called this earlier this week, and it did like a 20x or whatever from mint price, which was like, it was crazy. And then at that point, people started to flow into me, flow into my followers. So I was like, oh shit, like that's crazy. And I remember I had like 1,000 followers. I'm like, this is like insane. And from there, he's like,
I remember this part of it like from first-hand experience. I remember it.
yeah. And
I
I remember
remember.
Brett.
I was also watching Brett and Brett saying and Kosher. And then I think very soon after that, you guys did a thing together where you did calls on his channel. And then all of a sudden you're launching your own channel. And then all of a sudden you're launching Plug Pass. Is that right? It was pretty quick.
Yeah, it was very quick. I didn't even want to make videos. I told Brett, I'm like, I don't know why anyone would listen to me. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, there's way smarter people. Like, I'm not like a guru or anything. Like I feel like, it just doesn't. It didn't make sense to me. I'm like, why would anyone want to listen to me? But Brett's like, bro, trust me, you'll crush on YouTube. And I'm like, okay, I'll try it. Worst case, nothing happens. But I posted a video, and it did like 2,000 views. My first video was like, holy shit, like 2,000 people want to watch what I'm just talking about. And I was just like, and like I was literally recording on like a broken webcam. Like I think I even like I pulled it out because I like at that time, like I did not spend money on anything. Like I like, even like with my computer and stuff like that, like I was so cheap at that time, because like I just tried to save as much as I can. And I bought my computer on Craigslist off of someone for $200, and then I ended up buying used parts to fix the computer because there's a broken computer off Craigslist. And that's the computer I used for literally the entire time I was trading. So I spent like 200 something dollars on this computer that had like a decent setup. I think it was like a 1080 GPU, which was pretty solid, and I got like a really good deal on it because I was like always just like trying to find these deals. And then for my monitor, I found it also on Craigslist. I think some guy was saying that he was going to throw it out, so I gave him like $30 for it. So that was pretty awesome, and that's how I sort of got started. Just like being on computer and just learning as much as I could. And obviously from there I was like, okay, Brett's telling me I should make videos. I'll make videos. I made a couple of videos. They did crazy, like right off rip. I think the first two got like 2,000 views, and then there's one that I just made talking about Kaiju Kings before they minted, and that got like 25-30,000 views. And I was like, holy shit, like there's so many people who'd want to listen to me. Like that's absolutely insane. And at that time, like I was editing all my videos at the same time of just like like trading in the market, talking in the servers, and I was editing like every single day. And I was doing this every single day. Like during the bull run, I was literally making one YouTube video every single day for like over a month. So that was pretty fun, but at the same time it was very tiring. So I started posting like every like couple days. So like, obviously I slowed down, but it was insane. And I was trying to take as much advantage as I could at the time, because I knew for a fact that the bull run's not always going to last. And I was working crazy hours. I remember I was like staying up 17, 18 hours a day, just trading and learning as much as I could, because for a fact, like I was just telling everyone, I'm like, this is not going to last for everyone. Like this is not going to last forever. Peak euphoria only lasts so long. So it's like, you have to make sure you take advantage. So I was literally like working my body like crazy. Like even now I still, push myself really hard, and I work almost every single day. Well, I do work every single day, but like sometimes I just take a little bit take a little less time to focus on work. So like essentially you're always working, especially if you're a business owner, you're always working, you're always putting out fires. And people think that they're going to quit their 9 to 5 to work for themselves. But when you're working for yourself, you're really working 24 hours. So it's like, you
Yeah,
always
I
got
mean
something going
that's
on.
where that's part of where I feel like so similar. So like I really very very similar. I'm the same. I mean, I've got a saying that I often say to myself is make hay while the sun shines. So where there's an opportunity to milk it and properly like milk it, you never know whether it's in crypto or not. You never know when that opportunity is going to go. Make hay while the sun shines, and I'll be the same. I'll work 18, 20 hours a day for as long as the sun is shining. Really and truly, and I think I really I identify with that. And on top of that, I've also am started with nothing. Um, a long time ago, but it was also the same as you. I would watch absolutely every penny, how I spent it, never buy anything new, like at all. Also bought a computer. I couldn't even afford to get the parts, so I would get a part, but I never had a working computer until 6 months later because I was saving the graphics card. By the time I got there, the graphics card was already so shit that I had to like. But I mean, so I really get it. I really get it, and I admire it. And I think what you've done is absolutely incredible. So now you're making these YouTube videos every day. You're trading, working your ass off. When did Plug Pass come into it?
With trading, I used to post all my trades like publicly, like on Twitter. I'm just like, yeah, I'm getting into this project, and I'm looking into getting in at this price and for this reason. And I would just let everyone know like every single thing that I was doing. And there's so many people like also just tracking my wallets just to see what I was buying and trading. So I just like legit made tweets for everyone to see. And I wasn't really like I was like, okay, I could just do this like forever and just like let everyone know what I'm doing because it was just so sick. And I was like, oh my god, this is awesome. And Brett texted me, he's like, bro, you'd be perfect for like just running an alpha group. And I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that because, at the same time, like I could just tell everyone what I'm doing for free. But when I thought about it more so, I'm like, if I could get paid and quit like and not have to work a real job and just do this full time, like why wouldn't I do it? And it just didn't make sense for me not to. So I was like, okay, we're gonna try it out, see how it goes. And we launched Plug Pass, which I think was like the second alpha group. I'm not 100% if there was any others before me. I know that there was Llamaverse, but other than that, I don't know any others. So yeah, that's how it sort of got started. And the group was going good. We made a crazy amount of money. I don't even remember how much we made in total off of just like whitelist and stuff like that alone. Like it's like an absurd number because we had like Nano Pass. We had I forgot what the name of it was, but
I
like that.
remember Nano Pass. Wow, I
Yeah.
did really well. I did really well on that. Really well. I think I minted two. I sold one at like 5 ETH, and I sold another a few months later at about 4 ETH. Like I held it for a while and then sold it. I mean,
Yeah, and
that was
there's a lot of people who got into Plug Pass, and that was like they were like, holy shit, like that paid for my Plug Pass like 3-4 times
yeah,
over. And they were like, like it was insane. Like, and at that time, like I was also getting whitelist spots too. I don't remember, like I think the project was called like Lives of Asuna. And that would, I think when that minted, that went to like 6 ETH right off bat or something around that range. And it was legit insane because everyone was wanting to do these like waifu type of projects. And that was the waifu type of meta. And after that, like everyone like who got in, cause we got like, I think 100 spots for that. So like 6 ETH times like 100, like that's 600 ETH group profit, like massive. Like that was like an insane gain. And that we had like a bunch of those like just coming in there, in and out of the Discord group. And this was like during the peak bull run, like we were getting like the craziest spots and shit. But obviously now it's cooled off a bunch, and I still get spots for things like things here and there. But it's not the same as it kind of was during the peak bull run. So it's definitely slowed down a bunch. But we're still grinding and reaching out to projects and stuff like that.
has Plug Pass evolved now that it's in a bear market? So instead of just whitelist, is there other things that have been added to sort of compensate a little bit or whatever it may be? So was it
Um,
still basically the whitelist and alpha?
we are very NFT focused. I'm not really, I wouldn't want to teach people crypto for myself because I just don't know the crypto market as much as many other people. It just doesn't make sense in my opinion to do so. So I did hire someone who does a bunch of crypto calls. So that's pretty cool as well. But for the most part, we're NFT focused through and through, and there's always money to be made in the market. As long as you just watch to see what's going on, like there's always something going on. Like even if the market is bad, there's still money to be made, but it's just in different sectors of the market. Like I said with the art blocks project earlier today, like no one even knew about that, and I tried letting people know on Twitter, like, you know, like in a thread, like watch out for art blocks, like this could be pretty solid. And the project that minted today already did like a 2x, so like people who got in could have made like a quick $1,000. And you know, there's always opportunity, like I say all the time. It just depends. It's just in different sectors, and you have to just, you also have to follow a bunch of different people as well. Just make sure that you're watching what they're doing, and the smartest people are usually the ones that have some of the biggest following. So I definitely think that you should watch everyone who's on like the top 20 on NFT Inspect to see what they're doing, what they're up to, what projects they're following, what projects they're talking about, and just sort of, you know, look into those. Obviously, don't just buy into whatever they're buying into. Like apps, like actually understand what the project is before you just buy into it, because otherwise, if the floor price goes down, you're like, oh shit, like this influencer is just dumping on me. It's like, you have to understand before you buy into things for sure. It's
and also understand the sort of trading thesis of the people that you're following. Right. Also, so like I remember in the early days, I used to follow Pranksy, all the trades. Like I'm saying, in the very early days, when you get told you hear follow people, or you know, and buying the most random shit, right? That I'm still holding some of it, right? And buying hundreds. So I think, wow, it's got such conviction. Let me buy one or two, right? And it doesn't work, because obviously someone with like hundreds of millions of dollars is going to be trading very, very differently, and for different reasons than someone like me who doesn't have that. But yeah, so just know who you're following. I think I would add on to that. And tell me, so WGMI. So obviously now you're a YouTuber. You're friends with Brett. You've got that connection. You know Bento Boy. You got all the circle of YouTubers. WGMI, I think, was Brett, right? Was he spearheading it? He came to you guys and said, "Do it," or how did that come about?
Yeah, I mean, it was essentially just a group thing, because everyone on Twitter, it was like I think me, Ryan, just like everyone on Twitter was like, oh, what if every single NFT influencer came together and then launched a project? And everyone would be like, yo, that'd be crazy. Like, no one's ever done anything like that before. So me, Brett, Bento, like Brett's like, yo, let's do something. I feel like that we could launch something. And we were going to make it a podcast originally. So it was like going to be just like the WGMI podcast. And we were just going to like have like a mint for that, and just have people who want to watch NFTs and see what's going on. Just a podcast, me, Brett, Bento. And then I was talking to Bento and Brett, and I'm like, why don't we make this a media company and just broadcast NFTs like on a larger scale? NFTs and Web3 stuff, like, because I didn't want to be pigeonholed into NFTs, especially if the market turns bearish. So I wanted to make like a Web3 media company, have everything going on in NFTs, crypto, and essentially we built like a test website, all this other stuff, just to like sort of see if the concept would work. And, you know, we thought it was a really good idea. And I was like, okay, like, let's do it. Like, let's make it into WGMI Studios. So it'd be like a podcast, and on top of that, a media company. So we changed the name, obviously, to WGMI Media now, because we are a media company. And I feel like it's just confusing if we're like, oh, hop on WGMI Studios for news and what's going on in the market. It just doesn't make sense as much as media does. So that's how it essentially came about. And, you know, I thought it was like super innovative. I don't really know anyone else who really, at that time, I didn't know anyone else who even had like NFT news. I know there was a couple, but they were like super under the radar. And that's sort of how we came about with WGMI. And yeah, we're still killing it. And, you know, we're doing so many things behind the scenes, running a newsletter, running different things on YouTube, private videos, private podcasts, just a bunch of stuff like that as well. And essentially the website is pretty much like, it's like, I love the website as well, but like we're just working on things and minimal changes over time, because it just makes more sense to do things slowly and just make sure that you're growing an actual good audience instead of people who are in for the wrong reasons. That's why we never marketed things like pumping or like raising the floor for false reasons, because we want everything to be as organic, everything as legit as possible. And we want people to be there for the right reasons. If they're there not for the news and not what's going on in the NFT space, then you're not there for the right reasons. So that's basically my take on it.
So I'm mint at WGMI, and I'm still holding mine, and I'm very happy I do. And you know, once or twice, I think you did comment on one of the ones where we had you guys in our thumbnail. But I'll use some of the articles. I think they're great. The upcoming calendar, sometimes not 100% up to date, but I'll refer to it sometimes. So I'm very happy to hold. I mean, even if that information was free, I'm the type of person where if I'm getting value for something, I would buy the NFT, especially when it's a, you know, easy entry. It's not a, you know, it's not like a thing. I think it was 0.02 or 3 or last time I looked, and I don't even care. I'm happy to hold it. I think what you guys are doing there is really, really cool. And I'm a big fan, and I do use it as one. I mean, like you said, with following people, I've got maybe 15 different websites, not like media companies, but new crypto news and whatever. But yours is definitely one of them. And yeah, I think you guys are doing great. So, Kosher, you got a lot going on, my brother. What is the average day at just NFTs? Like, what percentage of your time is spent now in the bear trading? I imagine a lot less versus Plug Pass, either meetings or whatever, versus WGMI. How is your day split up?
It depends. My sleep has been really good lately. I feel so much better now because my sleep is always so bad. Because the thing is, I always work like too many hours, and then I don't really like. It's called monk mode, where you get like so into what you're doing that you don't really realize what time it is, and time just almost doesn't exist at that point. So I get into that all the time, especially when I'm trading, and especially when I'm doing different things like marketing. It's you lose the track of time. So usually when I wake up, it could be any time, like literally it legit like 1 a.m. I could wake up 10 p.m. It's all so like sporadic, my sleeping. But as of late, I've been trying to stick with a certain schedule because it's just so unhealthy. Like you feel like horrible when you wake up and it's like pitch black out, and then you try to get food, but everything's closed and the only thing that's open is McDonald's, so you're stuck eating that. So I've been sleeping good. I woke up at like 10. Actually, I think I woke up at 11 today, so a little bit later than the past couple of days. But wake up about that time, have myself a coffee, watch the market for about an hour or two, just to catch up on what I missed the previous night because NFTs 24/7. It's not like stocks because stocks stop at certain times and they're not on the weekends, but crypto 24/7, NFTs 24/7. So there's always something going on. There's always something that you're missing. Then I catch up on Twitter because, since I do run media stuff, that I have to sort of be involved and up to date with what's going on just in the real world as well as NFTs. So I do that for another hour, maybe hop on some meetings, either with WGMI or Plug Pass stuff that we have going on. And just pretty much just watch market trade, do some WGMI stuff. Like it's not like anything set in stone where I have a schedule, like do this at this time, do this at this time. It's just a lot of just stuff here and there where I just talk to different people, let them know what I think of what's going on, what I think that we could change, what I think we could update, just a lot of just managing stuff, different things that has just been going on. And obviously working on the newsletter stuff. I've been doing a lot of marketing for that. We have a newsletter that goes out Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And it just lets everyone know what's going on in the market. Like it's completely free. So anyone who wants to get involved in like the WGMI ecosystem has a chance to do so. And that's what I'm so focused on right now is expanding WGMI to broader horizons and get as many people involved as possible. Because a lot of these projects, when you're focused on only the NFT side of things and you're only doing things for the NFT, you're not really going to broaden your horizons. You're not going to get new people involved in your network. If it's only just the NFT itself, the only way that you'll really get that networking is if the floor price is high and then people start talking about it. So that's why I believe that doing that and doing free aspects to the public is going to be so massive. And with WGMI, obviously we do a lot of the marketing side of things. So when we do have some articles, there might be some sort of ad on it for the public. So that's how we're going to be able to sustain and do that as a business model. And a lot of people in the NFT space just are so anti ads, but in a sense, especially during a bear market, like you need money coming in to run a business, especially one as big as WGMI, because we have a lot of people who work on it. So that's what we're sort of sustaining. We're making money for the company, which is great. A lot of projects aren't really worrying about that. They're like, oh, let me just pump the floor and we'll get more royalties in that way. But we're not going that route. We don't want to sort of pump anything. We don't want to we don't want to overhype essentially. So that's how we're going. We're going pretty strong. We're just trying to make as much for the business as we can and make it as profitable as possible. Because then the more that we make, the more that we could give back to holders as well. Because it just essentially it's the circle of life.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, it's a great entry because you guys are all committed to it. It's a great entry price, and I think you've got the right vision. Is forget the floor price and build and deliver value, and give a lot of it for free, and then get people in, and then convert them if and when they're ready. I think that's cool. I remember in the beginning days when I started my in real life business, I used to work sometimes through the full night, all the way through until maybe 4 p.m. the next day. If I could, I would push until I couldn't anymore. And then I would sleep until I woke up, no matter what that was. If that was a 12-hour sleep, I'd do that. If it was a 16-hour sleep, I'd do that. And then I'd go again for like 26, 30 hours, something stupid. So I was the same. I would wake up. It would sometimes be night times. We had something here called Fontana's Roastery. We don't have them anymore, which was like awesome chicken and prego rolls and whatever. They were open 24/7. So I did have a place to go, right? But also not healthy. But I mean, I completely get that side of it. I couldn't stop. Once I was in it and doing it, I couldn't stop. And I would always discipline myself. I would say to myself, look, because I still smoke and I shouldn't, and I should stop, and I'm gonna. But I would say to myself, when I've loaded 100 products on the website, that's when I can go outside for a cigarette. And like, because I had to discipline myself. Like, yes, I put myself through university like you too. So I also had jobs. But from when I finished university, or even before, when I started Perkel, there hasn't been anyone breathing down my neck saying, you have to win this, so you have to discipline yourself. So that's how we do it. So, okay, you're not allowed a cigarette until you've loaded 100 products. Then you can have your cigarette. And then I would have my cigarette, and then I go back the next 100 for the next cigarette.
Yeah, I think that's also very important as well, as it just determination and consistency for sure. A lot of people lack that, and I feel like there's so many people who would be so successful if they just had that. And I feel like people like us are cut from the same cloth, and like essentially, like if you grew up like trying to make as much money as you can, or in saving and just like trying to better yourself so much, I think we're all just pretty much determined for success. It's just inevitable at that point. And people who might be watching this right now might be in the mindset of, oh, like everything keeps going to shit that I keep doing and I keep trying and nothing's working. But you, in my opinion, I think you need to fail as many times as it takes before you find something that sticks. Because with me, with all these businesses and things that I started way back in the day, like I know that they were like stupid businesses like flipping iPhones and customizing Xbox controllers, but those all failed for a reason, for me to find out what works. So with sneakers, like I didn't really fail, and you don't really need to, make, like if you're making money, you could still not necessarily fail, but you might not be in the position that you want to be in. So you need to understand that as well. So even if you're working a normal job right now, I don't suggest to quit. I don't suggest, throw everything to the side and try focusing on NFTs. I think that you save enough, work on the side of what you're doing, like be smart about it. Don't just start trading like a normal, like I waited until I had $30,000 just like chilling before I even did anything with work and anything with college. Like I think everyone should have some sort of blanket in mind of money, especially if they want to try something on themselves. So Crypto Dream says, yo, what's going on? So yeah, I mean, getting to what I was saying, essentially, please forgive me for being late. Essentially what I was saying is don't be scared to fail. I think there's such a stigma behind it, especially with school. Whenever you're in school, they always tell you you're not, like failing is bad and you can't get bad grades, and like if you do this wrong then you'll get punished. Or it's just like you need to fail. Like in a business, you need to see what doesn't go right and then learn from that and then make your decisions based off your failures, because otherwise you're not going to learn anything. If you're not failing, then you're not really growing as a person. It just doesn't make sense.
For sure. And I think it's the same like with relationships. If I think about the girlfriends that I had that I loved, that I thought were going to be my wife one day and make a family, that never worked out, and then you find that person who is your soulmate and is your wife, and you realize that all those failed relationships were there to teach you about how to what you really wanted, number one, and how to be a good partner in whatever that may be. And it's the same with business. And I agree 100%. When I started Perkel, it looked very, very different to what it is today. So we had a computer division, which does not exist today anymore whatsoever. We had a corporate gift division, and then we had like a eBay version, like a auction division, also, which doesn't exist today at all. So I was doing exactly what you're saying, is that I was just throwing things at the wall, giving it everything, and seeing what would stick. And I agree with you 100%. The best way to learn is to jump into the deep end with those things, like give it a try. And it's like if you go up to 10 girls and ask them if they want to come home with you, one of them is going to say yes. If you try 10 different business ideas, right, one of them, and you give it everything, and one of them should end up working. And even if it doesn't, you'll have learned so much that the next one will. So I think that's really great advice. I really, really do.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I just think that too many people give up too soon, and they're worried about failing, and they're worried about looking stupid in front of their friends. And I remember I started this one Shopify business, and it was like this dog pet store, and I have friends to this day who still make fun of me for it. So it's like you have to get over that stigma in your mind that people are gonna laugh at you, because people will laugh anyway, behind your back or to you directly. So don't be worried about what other people are thinking. And I'm one of these people who worry about what other people think. So I'm very like, I try to be as careful as possible whenever I do anything, because I worry, because I like when people like me. Like, I'm not one of these people who like to be hated. So
Well,
I like
I can tell
positivity,
that
good vibes.
you're a genuine, really genuine. I mean it, a genuine, humble, nice person. I must say, I might have been the same. I don't remember, but I do not give the slightest fuck what anyone thinks of me. I try to be good, and I want to be good, and all of that. But that's not my motivation for it. And I'm sure you'll get there, because if as long as I'm happy within me, and I know that my intentions are good, and I've given it my best, I couldn't care less what anyone thinks. And there's another saying that I say to myself all the time, which is similar. You made me think of it when you were talking. Is work in silence and let your success be the noise. Right. So I was always like that. Like, even to this day, I'm now almost 40 years old. I've been running Perkel, my business, for 20 solid years, still running it. And we had someone who was very good friends with my sister at school. So she's known me through my sister for 30 years, 35 years. And she came, now her child is at school with my child. I know it's a different world to what you're in, but her child wanted to come to our house. So she came over. She's never seen my house or whatever. I'm quietly working for 20 years. And she said to Bianca, like, I wasn't here, I was at work. She said to Bianca, "Oh my God, your house is so beautiful." Like, and like, it's like, yeah, like Philip has been working his ass off for 20 solid years and sacrificed so much, But that was a compliment to me. The fact that even people that are still good friends with my sister know of me, don't necessarily know what I've been able to achieve, is really the way I like to do it. I just put my head down, not there to impress anyone, not there not to impress anyone, just for myself want to do it. And the other thing I was thinking is, we're different from our upbringing in that I grew up very, very in a very wealthy home until I finished school, or actually the year before I finished school. And the year before I finished school, my dad lost absolutely everything, like went from amazing financially to nothing. So my experience was watching a man who used to have huge pride and all of that. He was providing for his family and had whatever he wanted, flying first class and belly spit handmade shoes and stuff for himself, go from that to someone who, like, slowly couldn't look at himself in the mirror anymore over years of not having. Um, and I think that's been my driving motivation, is to try as best as I can. And it wasn't his fault. He had a lot of bad luck in his time. He was an entrepreneur. He used to start something, sell it, move on, and he just got into the wrong thing once or twice, and that just, was the end of it. But I do see that you seeing your mom suffer so much growing up gives that drive. And that's where I worry about the NFT space a lot sometimes, is like, people hear about these stories, and I think it's important that people hear about the wins and the losses. I know you do too, but people hear these stories about like $20,000 overnight, and they think that that's the norm. And what they don't realize is that you really have to work really, really hard in most cases to make good money. Yes, there'll be, if you're in the right space at the right time and you're giving it everything, there will be opportunities that come up once in a while, but that's not the norm. The norm is hard work, consistency, and dedication. So, which I know also. But yeah, I mean, a lot of similarities, definitely. I want to see what Crypto Dream has to say here. Yeah, I mean, he loved what you said. Shane, Crypto Dream comes onto every one of mine and Cade's stream. I saw Cade was here earlier. A big shout out to Cade. It's exactly what he wanted to hear. Failure hurts his soul. My dad told me I failed at everything I care about, and I still hear that almost every time I make a mistake. Yeah. So you gotta come past that, right? You've got to really, and also you're doing it now for you. You're not doing it now for anyone else. Like, no one else to see it. You're doing it for you. And I think you got to give it your best and give it 100%. And then, at the end of a 12-hour, 18-hour, whatever day, if you have given it your everything, your absolute everything, and it doesn't succeed, you can go to bed happy because you know in your heart of hearts that you gave it everything you could. And yes, try something different tomorrow or a different approach to the same thing, but all you can do is your best, and the rest is out of your hands.
100%. Yeah, I just think everyone should take some time to find something that clicks, because it might not happen today, might not happen tomorrow, might not happen in 5 years. But just like if you consistently take time to learn things and take time to experience things, like yes, you could read a book and yes, you could watch people on YouTube, but until you take that step forward, you're not going to really learn anything. So there's only so much
Yeah.
you can learn from videos and stuff online, and it could be good motivation for sure. But until you actually step out and try things for yourself, I don't think that you're going to have much success just watching from the sidelines. You're just going to be a spectator in life.
Yeah. And often like literally a couple of hours trying something can teach you so much. Yes, it's good to have the practical also, watch the videos, read the books, but there's certain stuff, a lot of stuff that you can't learn unless you're actually doing it. And when you're doing it and you're in it, and whatever it may be, and you make that mistake or whatever it may be, and that's when it sticks. That's when you really, oh, okay, don't do it like that. That doesn't work. And you never forget those lessons. Just like you list one NFT instead of 10 ETH at 1 ETH, or instead of 1 ETH at point one once, then you don't do it again. You get very like, okay, I've got to double check next time I do that.
Yeah, you definitely learn a lot more when you're losing money than when you're making it, for sure. I feel like it's such a it's a like humans have a negative mindset. So when you see something bad, it sticks in your mind a lot more than when you see something positive. So especially with things like that, you just learn so much more from failures than you will with success. And that's why I'm so big into telling everyone, like, just try things, just try. Like that's all that you could do, is just trying different things. Like even when I was doing Shopify, like nothing stuck. And I thought I was like, oh, I'm going to be working a job forever, and, nothing's sticking. And, and then at some point, obviously got into NFTs, and that luckily stuck. And there might be something else that I try in the future that doesn't stick, and that might be something else that doesn't stick, and something else that doesn't stick. But eventually there's going to be another thing that sticks, and something that works really well. And until you find something that sticks and works really well, just continue and just keep trying different things. Like even if you're making money doing one thing, if you don't love it and you're not liking what you do, then continue doing it, make as much money as you can, for sure. And then just try different things as well on top of that structure that you're already doing, to make things, or try different things that you could do, or just attempt to do, in order to better yourself, or, do something that you like to do.
Yeah. And I think it's exactly what you said, is even when you fail, and you will fail at many, and one will fail at many things, even when one fails, if you can look at those failures as school fees, as education, then you haven't failed. You've learned something that's invaluable, that will make you more equipped for the next thing that you try. Right. And I think that's important as well. A lot of it is it's like I was saying to Cade, I think on last Friday's show, that the way he perceives even the most horrible stuff that he has to do, like editing videos he hates or whatever, he perceives it as, I'm getting my word out there. And he loves it. Even the parts that he hates of what he's doing, he changes the way he perceives it, and that makes him actually not hate doing editing, even though it's not something that he really likes. So a lot of this battle that I think all of us are going through, no matter what stage we're at, is internal. It's in our own mind. It's a battle with our own thoughts. And if you can learn to talk to yourself, be kinder on yourself when you fail, and not, oh, you idiot, yeah, you kinder, yeah, this was wrong. I've learned my lesson, and it's made me better equipped for the next time. I'm gonna try this else. I think that we've got to speak kinder to ourselves, all of us in the whole world. I think we really have to start doing that, me included, because I think we're really hard on ourselves, and I think it's not healthy to any of us. As long as
Yeah.
you're giving it your best, can't sit on a beach and expect money to fall from the sky, and then, yeah, no, I did my best today. As long as you're being honest with yourself, I think that's something really, really important.
Yeah, and I think just especially with just being positive with yourself, I think you should be positive to others as well. I think that a lot of it transfers over as well, in my opinion. Being a good person, I feel like it's good karma, and just puts good back into the world, and you're more likely to get good if you put more good into the world. And I believe, you should be good to everyone. And, at some point, maybe this one person that you were good to years ago remembers you and they're like, oh, I remember you. And, I'm doing this new thing now where I'm making millions of dollars. Maybe that opportunity will now be available to you
Yeah,
if you were just nice to that one person.
for sure.
It's so much, there's so much more benefits to being nice to people than just to being mean. And even with losing money on trades and stuff like that, like when you blame people instead of just taking accountability for yourself, that's a bad mindset to have. Like, you have to understand, like, it's not someone's fault that you decided to make a certain trade instead of doing the research behind it. It's just, I think that people just need that accountability as well for themselves, and understand that, not everything is going to work out. Like, you need to understand and do a little bit of due diligence for yourself and put good into the world. And hopefully you get that good back, because at some point, someone's going to need that little bit of good.
For sure. For sure. I think it's words of wisdom. And I think it's a good place to end, Kosh, unless there's anything else you wanted to say. But I mean, I've loved this. I've thoroughly enjoyed talking to you. I feel like we could carry on forever, but I think it's such a nice, positive way to end. Yeah. Is there anything on your side?
No, that should be it. I hope everyone has a great day, and I appreciate you having me.
Kosha, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it. In this setting on YouTube where we are, I'm the small guy and you're the big guy, and it speaks volumes of your character that you've come on the show. You've given us your precious time. To anyone from the Web3 show that's watching, I really implore you to follow Kosha. His socials are in the description of the video. And look at what he's doing. And yeah, he's a gentleman and a scholar. And Kosha, thank you so much for coming on. I've loved it. I want to do it again. I want to get to know you better. On or off air, doesn't matter. But I just really appreciate your time, and I've really enjoyed being with you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, guys. Thank you to everyone who tuned in. We'll see you Friday with Cade for another Freestyle Friday. Thanks, guys.